This is Texas News Now, sponsored by Germania Insurance.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. Anti-ICE protesters packed the entrance to a migrant detention center in Dilley today. What began as a peaceful demonstration ended in the deployment of tear gas. Zach Briggs has the story from Dilley.
The people from across Texas traveled to Dilley today, marching in solidarity with the migrants and children who are being held at this detention center. While largely a peaceful protest, there was a point where law enforcement deployed tear gas, which impacted the protesters and media. Here's footage leading up to the brief period of chaos. Law enforcement ordering protesters and reporters to get back, and you could eventually see one of the officers throw canisters of tear gas. My colleague and I were working on this story inside our car at the time when this happened, and even we couldn't escape the effects of the tear gas. Opening the door just a little bit let the chemical irritant inside, but we're doing okay. Protesters marched 2 miles from downtown Dilley to the ICE detention center. That's where Liam Ramos and his father are being held after being taken into custody in Minnesota. Congressman Joaquin Castro was able to meet with Liam while touring the facility. Here's Misty Barrera, who traveled from Houston this morning to take part in the protest. She happened to be on the front lines when law enforcement deployed the gas.
We weren't doing anything wrong. We weren't harming anyone. We weren't inciting anyone. They can't even hear us from the prison. So it was just a show of force and to just try and scare us. And frankly, it's only motivating me to come back more and to fight harder.
And providing any other medical service they needed, including the protesters and reporters who were on the front lines when law enforcement deployed the gas. In Dilley, I'm Zach Briggs, KENS 5.
A man will spend decades in prison for his ties to the murder of a 30-year-old man. Joe Anthony Guerra's body was found at a dump site on Bassey Road in April 2022. Earl Stoudemire explains.
Paul Chacon was sentenced to 40 years in prison for aggravated robbery and kidnapping of Joe Anthony Guerra. In April 2022, Guerra was selling Xanax to Chacon and Esteban Xavier Flores at a home on Bassey Road. Police later discovered video showing Chacon and Flores torturing and assaulting Guerra. Guerra died from his injuries, and the arrest affidavit for Flores and Chacon details how they left his body at a dump site near the home. Guerra's body was discovered several days later. In November 2023, federal agents raided the home on Bassey Road and arrested both men. Flores was charged with murder, but according to online records, that charge was dismissed. He's still awaiting trial. Chacon's sentence also involves the aggravated robbery of Anthony Orozco, who was attacked on video before his clothes and jewelry were taken a month before Guerra's death. Earl Stoudemire, KENS 5.
Last week, the Atascosa County Sheriff's Office were looking for 3 sex offenders who failed to comply with registration rules. One was found, and the Sheriff's Office is still looking for the other 2. Simone Simpson is following the story.
Recently, while conducting routine address checks, the Sheriff's Office says 3 sex offenders on unrelated cases had absconded from the addresses they were reportedly living in Atascosa County.
As the sheriff of the county, I take that responsibility serious to make sure that these sex offenders are complying with their court order registration.
Atascosa County Sheriff Jay Guerra says all 3 failed to register themselves as sex offenders.
According to state law, it's up to them to find their local law enforcement agency and register themselves. It's their responsibility to keep up with it.
Blake Flores is the first of the 3 tracked down by deputies and was taken into custody Tuesday. Found here in an abandoned home in Christine, where he was allegedly found with crystal meth. Sheriff Guerra is asking for the community's assistance in keeping an eye out on the remaining 2 offenders, Antonio Gomez Vasquez and Felix Sandoval.
We don't know why they're not complying. Are they on the run or are they up to no good?
His warning to parents.
You just keep an eye on their children. Keep an eye, know where they're going, know where they're at, know who they're at, who they're with. You know, keep an eye on their social media, their phones, their Facebooks, whatever else there is out there. And that helps us keep them safe by the parents getting involved with their children's social media accounts.
All of them face charges of failing to register as a sex offender. Their status on the Texas DPS Sex Offender Registry now shows as absconded. Each of these charges are felonies. Sheriff Guerra advises if you know the whereabouts of any of these men, call 911. Reporting from Atascosa County, Simone Simpson, KENS 5.
Ronald McDonald and his cast of iconic friends are headed to Fiesta Flambeau. At a press conference today, organizers announced Ronald, Birdie, Hamburglar, and Grimace will serve as the 2026 Fiesta Flambeau Parade's honorary grand marshals. They'll join SeaWorld San Antonio Shamu and crew during the April 25th nighttime parade through downtown. It's the largest illuminated night parade in the country. This year's theme, Adventures in Toyland. And that's the news in San Antonio.
I'm Chris Lawrence with your headlines from North Texas. The winter storm left a deep mark across DFW. Brittany Costello shows us the lives lost and a widespread effort to save others.
This is what the Fort Worth Fire Department's HOPE team does when winter weather hits.
We go out and we make sure that everyone's safe around the city.
With blankets and water, they know how dangerous it can be.
Frostbite, hypothermia setting in.
They rescued a man from the cold Sunday. They don't think he could have survived the night.
So it's very dangerous for them to be out here.
They see life-threatening situations every year. But it's the unpredictable harm from the icy weather that's much more difficult to plan for. Police found a woman in a field out here along Seminary Drive in Fort Worth yesterday. They believe her death is related to the cold weather. And while the ice is melting, she is adding to a growing list of North Texans whose lives will never be the same. 3 little boys died after falling into an icy pond in Bonham Monday.
They were going to be something in life.
The same day, Dr. Barry Aldridge died after falling into his pond in Colleyville. Aldridge was a doctor in Hearst for more than 40 years. And in Frisco.
It's really hard to hear something like this in this community.
2 16-year-old girls, Elizabeth Engel and Gracie Brito, died. Their sled was being pulled by a Jeep when it crashed. Both well-loved, are being described as kind.
Big loss.
A high school senior in Ponder is fighting for his life. The district says athlete Caden Nowicki is in the ICU after a different sledding accident. A painful new reality that will sink in long after the ice is gone. In DFW, I'm Brittany Costello.
Most people were urged to stay off the icy roads, but that's not really an option for nurses. Jobin Puneker just found some Good Samaritans helping them get to work safely.
Days later, and the storm still has its grip. And while drivers do not, the icy roads.
Out there.
For Kate Gathego coming from Princeton.
I wouldn't drive. Even tomorrow I wouldn't drive because it's bad.
After a 12-hour shift at Medical City McKinney, this nurse who manages discharges needs her own help getting home.
There is no way I would have come to work. No way.
All right, Kate, you ready?
The management team here, like Chief of Operations Sam Johnson, has been giving rides to hospital staff. 30 so far.
Healthcare doesn't stop regardless of the weather, and we're just thankful for that.
I turned my office into a dispatch center.
Brian Stevens converted his Highway 78 Jeep Club.
There's a Jeepway right there. Let's go.
Into a recovery team.
I have a lot of text messages. It's like, help! Exclamation point.
They've had close to 100 calls to pick up or drop off a nurse or first responder or help someone stuck.
It's all about being in a community and helping people in the time of need.
What normally is a 20-minute drive in this becomes a 35 to 40-minute drive.
Some of these places are 20, 30 miles away from the hospital. Hoping that this snow and ice
Sam started rides at 5 in the morning.
Melts away today.
For start of shift at 7. Right. Kate may need a ride tomorrow, too.
That was the most humbling experience I've ever gotten.
The help from this Jeep Club and hospital management will continue through the week, as long as these icy conditions do. In Collin County, I'm Jobin Puneker.
While some districts have canceled school for a 4th straight day, others decided to reopen. Scoop Jefferson shows us what officials look for on these walkthroughs.
School districts across North Texas are dealing with this: ice-covered parking lots and sidewalks on every campus. Classes canceled. But days ago,
we had to sit down and kind of had a game plan.
Arlington ISD facilities service foreman Aldo Perez participated in prep meetings way before the winter weather hit.
We gathered up any potential material that we needed like this tractor that you see in the back. We have spreaders out there.
Using shovels on sidewalks to a backhoe on the staff parking lot, Perez and his team making Wood Elementary safe when school reopens.
Clearing up any potential hazard in any entry and exit point surrounding the building. It's all about the kids here at the district. I think in every district is the same way.
I know there's always a ton of meetings going on. This is well before the storm arrives.
The same work is underway at Fort Worth ISD campuses like W.M. Green Elementary. Crews will return to finish clearing ice and snow from sidewalks so students who walk to campus are safe. The district is addressing safety priorities for other students too.
They wait for the bus. We have student drivers, who are new drivers. So we definitely take everything into consideration.
Another priority, making sure the heat works. Already this week at one Fort Worth ISD campus, cleanup from a water leak blamed on the winter freeze. Whether it's inside or outside, Perez says his team takes their jobs seriously.
Their safety is our priority.
So teachers and students can get back to teaching and learning. In Tarrant County, I'm Scoop Jefferson.
Families have been scrambling to find childcare this week, and Tiffany Liu just spoke with parents who are trying to juggle the icy roads, work obligations, and more time with the kids.
Are you ready to play?
It's not the usual Wednesday crowd at Down to Play in Dallas.
And I think we're all getting cabin fever.
The parking lot and indoor playground are packed.
But a Wednesday morning during the school year, no. We are normally not crowded at all right now. And we are about to be on a wait right now, so it's a very, very different Wednesday morning.
Kelsey Doolin is co-owner of this small family business.
As a mom with toddlers, I know how needed this is, and that's why it was really important to us to stay open if the roads were safe enough to get here.
Living so close to the store, they opened every day during the winter storm.
Thank you, have fun.
Giving kids and parents a warm place to go.
I went up to all the owners and was like, thank you for being open this week, because we needed an outlet for sure.
Tara Hansen is a working mom of 2.
Well, I'm really just taking care of the kids, and my work's on the back burner, and I'm working during nap time is honestly what's happening.
She's been logging into the Wi-Fi at Down to Play, answering work and kids. Tara is with a group of daycare moms,
hey, bud,
helping each other survive.
Yes. I'm parenting other kiddos.
Before noon, Down to Play already had 250 people walk through their doors.
Someone's on a call over there, and I'm like, I'll sit at the table, and then we just are switching off who's doing what.
While Tara understands schools are closed for safety,
which today was delay start, honestly.
She's hoping tomorrow campuses will reopen after 3 days closed.
My 3-year-old literally today was like, can I go back to school? And I was like, I really wish you could. So that's where we're at.
And it seems many parents are feeling that way too.
Here's to school tomorrow.
In Dallas, I'm Tiffany Liu.
Yeah, I get it. My kids are home for the 4th straight day, but who's counting? And those are your headlines from North Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Grace Thornton with your Texas weather headlines as we continue through this week. I know we had a lot of winter weather earlier on, but now we're left with warm afternoons causing some thawing and some cold evenings too. Now we will also be tracking more cold weather the further we move into this work week. So for the next 3 days across the state of Texas, you can see many areas will start to see temperatures falling, especially as we head towards that Saturday marker. Austin at 43 for their high temperature on Saturday, 44 out there in Lubbock. Here in Del Rio, we're looking at areas staying most likely the same, 72 by Thursday and only dipping to about 61 for Saturday, and looking a little bit more consistent for those temperatures closer to the coastline. This is all due to another cold front moving through the area. This is going to take place throughout Thursday, moving across West Texas into Central Texas and eventually moving across the coastline as we head into about 9 p.m. for your Thursday night. Then we start to track the potential for cold weather, not throughout Friday. Actually, the cold weather is going to sink in closer to those weekend hours. So waking up on Saturday morning, cold weather sinks into Texas here, dipping to the 30s for areas even in South Texas like San Antonio. And we're looking at the 20s from Dallas up to Lubbock. And of course, Amarillo will be included in that as well. By 7 a.m. on Saturday, we're looking at 28 for Central Texas and Austin, 30 degrees for Houston, and even touching 39 down in Corpus Christi. With this front, we'll not only be tracking the potential for cold weather, but also some breezy conditions too. So working its way through, that cold front will bring gusty weather from Dallas to San Angelo, eventually through Central Texas around 4 p.m. for your Thursday, and into Friday morning. Those breezier conditions will subside a bit, but it's possible we could see some light gusting out towards Houston, down through Corpus Christi, and along the coastline for your Friday. All right, we are looking extended into the forecast, 6 to 10 days, February 3rd to the 7th, likely seeing above average conditions or near average conditions here close to the Lone Star State for that time period. But we are also tracking the potential for some wet weather here close to home as well. You can see the precipitation outlook starts to see those above average chances for that precipitation. This will come along with another cold front for next week. You can see it moving through on our European model here. Our GFS model still not expecting to see too much of that precipitation. We've got a much stronger significance out towards the European model, so we'll continue to track that as we head closer and closer to that event. The good news is it looks like most of Texas will just see maybe a cold rain, but rain nonetheless. We're not looking at sleet or snow or wintry conditions. All right, your Texas forecast across the area. Again, Thursday looks very lovely for many. Friday also will keep those conditions pretty warm, 50s and 60s for most of the state. But as we head through Friday night and Saturday, we'll see temperatures drop along with that cold front, especially for areas in the north from Dallas and Fort Worth. We're down to just 32 degrees for your Saturday afternoon. In the east, we're looking at the 40s, maybe even the 30s, touching Tyler as well. And then for the rest of us, it doesn't look like those temperatures will drop off quite as severely. I'm Grace Thornton. Those are your Texas weather headlines.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.
Let's take a look at today's headlines from Houston. Hello, I'm Len Cannon. We're learning more about some of the people killed when a private plane that took off in Houston crashed in Maine. Family members identified one of the victims as a Houston area pilot, Jacob Hosmer. Friends tell Katira Winfrey Hosmer loved his family and had a zest for life.
Faith, friends say, undoubtedly led Hosmer. They say he moved through life with love and grace. And it's a lesson that friends can hold on to as they deal with this unexpected loss. Family, Jacob Hosmer's friends say, came first, but you can add planes and pickleball as passions.
We did life with him, not just pickleball life, but we were friends.
friends. There's a proverbial statement that says a friend loveth at all times.
These are just a few of the people who've come to call him friend on and off the court. Today they join in grief, celebrating a life well lived and loved.
We have to realize he was doing what he loved.
Friends say he's a pilot and is one of the 6 people tragically killed Sunday when a private plane crashed while trying to take off during harsh weather in Bangor, Maine. His family confirming that with CBS News Tuesday.
It's still a shock, even to this day. It's still a shock about Jake.
Over the years, this group formed through a camaraderie and love of pickleball. The news of his passing sank hearts.
I'm just shocking. And I said, that's not true. So I Googled the news that Sunday night. I said, oh my gosh.
Hosmer let love guide his life, apparently by a constant smiling face.
He brought a sense of love and trash talk like crazy. Trash talk, but he was just the best guy. He always had a smile on his face.
And that bit of trash talk always followed with kind words.
I have friends that encourage me all day long with positive words. So that's what he did. So that's what we're going to continue to do.
So while he's gone, what he's left behind remains.
Not only was he a great guy, he was a generous person. I'm going to miss him.
And friends say his oldest son is preparing to head to the military to follow in his father's footsteps to also become a pilot. Reporting in Houston, Katira Winfrey, KHOU 11 News.
Remembering and carrying on their friend's legacy of kindness. Many Houstonians are speaking out after the deaths of 2 people who were shot by federal agents in Minneapolis. Many packed the Houston City Council meeting Tuesday night to voice their concerns about the city of Houston cooperating with ICE agents. Ugochi Iloka has more.
Due to long screening wait times, dozens of people were prevented from speaking out of the 80 that signed up to speak in the City Council meeting here at City Hall Tuesday evening. Now, Council member Edward Pollard later ended up hearing some of those people who had a lot to say. I want you to take a listen.
Let us speak! Let us speak! And you need to have someone at least hear your opinions and concerns. So
Councilman Pollard allowed those who didn't get to speak during the regular city council session to speak in an impromptu session afterwards in the Legacy Room. Some of the people who spoke last night blamed Mayor Whitmire for what they call his lack of effort to push back against ICE's presence in Houston, claiming they are directly harming immigrant communities. Lots of fear and frustration prompted by the ICE-related shooting death last week of Alex Preddy in Minnesota, and in the week before that, Renee Good drove Houston residents to speak out about it.
Parents are afraid to send their children to school. Students are organizing walkouts, disrupting education. Families are avoiding shelters during freezes. Children are watching their communities be profiled, stopped, detained, and asking us, me, a mother of 3, why no one in the city of Houston is protecting them.
And there were even more passionate speakers that spoke out last night. Texas passed a law in 2017 that punishes local governments for adopting ordinances that forbid cooperation with federal immigration authorities. That's why Mayor Whitmire has openly said his hands are tied on this. Reporting outside of Houston City Hall, Ugochi Iloka, KHOU 11 News.
45 years ago, U.S. hostages in Iran were finally freed after 444 days in captivity. Now we're hearing from a Houston man who was one of those hostages. At 94, he talks to Marcelino Benito about survival, resilience, and the long road home.
Does it feel like it's been 45 years?
Not really. William Royer isn't as young as he once was, but what he endured while teaching English in Iran is something you never forget.
Did that experience make you appreciate life more after?
Yeah, definitely. The year was 1979. Anger had been building outside the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. Protesters demanded the U.S. return the deposed Shah. On November 4th, it turned violent. Iranian students stormed the embassy, overpowering a small group of Marine guards. More than 50 Americans taken hostage, blindfolded, paraded through the streets as the world watched.
How did they treat you?
We were fed. You had a bag put over your head every time you needed to go to the bathroom, and knock on the door and be led down the hall so that you couldn't see anything of the outside.
The nightmare dragged on.
The 222nd day of captivity for the American hostages in Iran.
Weeks turned into months, then tragedy. 8 U.S. service members were killed during a secret rescue attempt.
The responsibility is fully my own.
Before long, it had been more than a year.
The 377th day of captivity for American hostages in Iran.
I mean, I was angry throughout.
Was there ever a time during your captivity that you believed you would not come home?
I didn't let myself think that.
Royer says he never lost hope. And after 444 days,
So help me God.
minutes after Ronald Reagan was sworn in, Iran released the hostages.
Once he got out on the runway and 2 blocked the throttle, once he got airborne, I don't know, you just feel satisfaction with fresh air. The shackles have been removed and you're on your way to freedom.
Royer and 52 others began the long journey home, touching down first in New York, where crowds lined the streets.
Do you remember this?
Yes.
2 days later, the hostages arrived in D.C., tearful reunions on the tarmac, and a ticker tape parade down the nation's capital, American patriotism and unity on full display. That same day, Royer, seen here in the glasses, honored alongside his fellow survivors at the White House.
How did the hostage crisis change your life?
Made me appreciate those things that are precious to us.
It was a moment of national relief. But for Royer, the most meaningful reunion was still ahead. The headlines back then told the story beautifully. Donning a cowboy hat, Houston's hero finally made it home.
After what you lived through, you don't take freedom for granted.
Definitely not. Not at all. I don't think there is an understanding how precious our freedom is.
At 94, Royer says his voice may be one of the last left. So he's sharing his story so Americans remember the Iran hostage crisis still echoes through U.S. policy and global tensions today. Back to you.
One man's window into history. That's a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Len Cannon.
Hi, I'm Brennan Gurley, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. With temperatures warming up, plumbers are warning East Texans to pay close attention to their homes, and issues caused by the freeze may now be coming to light. CBS 19's Ayanna Aird breaks down the warning signs and what homeowners should do next.
Yeah, just loss of pressure, loss of water altogether. If you have faucets dripping and they stop dripping, of course, that's a big sign that something has gone wrong. So this is a copper pipe that we cut out recently. You can see the crack right there. So this, of course, had water in it and it froze. And with copper piping, it doesn't have very much give to it. So it ruptured right there and water was spraying out. So a lot of the times, if you do have a freeze break or anything, it could look like that. It'll just split that copper.
Plumbing experts say these are some of the most common red flags of a busted or frozen pipe. If you notice any of them, they recommend shutting off your water at the meter and calling a plumber to assess the damage. Evans Plumbing says after freezing temperatures, they receive dozens of calls, especially from homeowners who didn't prep their pipes ahead of time.
If there's signs of a leak or frozen piping, because it can cause damage, especially if it's under the home or in a wall or in the attic.
Depending on the size of the leak, damage can spread quickly, impacting walls, floors, and ceilings.
A lot of the times it just comes down to understanding your plumbing system and making sure you know where everything is at.
So now is the time to check bathrooms, laundry rooms, and kitchens for any signs of leaks.
Walk around the yard and see if there's any wet spots or water coming up from the ground, and just try to do your best to locate where the leak might be coming from and go from there.
For CBS 19, I'm Ayanna Aird.
The recent cold weather has affected East Texans in many ways, including their online interactions. Our Alan Casper talked to Michelle Mills, president of the BBB Serving East Texas, about things people need to be on the lookout for when they're online.
When we have weather like we've had, people are home more, so they may be checking their phones more. When we're stressed out, we can maybe not have the best logical decision making. And then technology also makes it more difficult to spot fraud. With AI, it's much more difficult to tell whether the person that's sending you messages or the videos that you're seeing, if they're real or not. Watch out for those clickbait messages that are designed to provoke fear and urgency. For example, you might get a smishing or a phishing message that tells you to immediately act or click on a link. They might be asking for donations to fake relief funds. You might see some too good to be true marketing campaigns. If you didn't initiate contact, then don't respond. You also want to make sure that you set your phone to filter out unknown senders and unknown callers. That's going to help you receive less spam messages and spam phone calls. And when you are making a purchase or making a donation, please always do your research first. And remember never to give out your personal or financial information to somebody that you don't know. Basically, just when in doubt, reach out. So just because you see a message doesn't mean it's legitimate. So you want to make sure that you either contact the financial institution or the company that you're trying to shop from or make a donation to. Just make sure you do research before you send any money or personal information.
All great advice, and that's a wrap of your East Texas headlines. I'm Brennan Gurley.
Hi, I'm Leslie Adamy in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's happening here in South Texas. Most Precious Blood Catholic Church in Corpus Christi hosted the installation mass for the new and 9th bishop of the diocese, Mario A. Aviles. During the celebration, though, a suspicious package was reported at the church, prompting an immediate response from CCPD and the bomb squad. Officials moved in quickly to secure the area, and good news to share here. The package turned out to be just a lunchbox. The church was evacuated out of precaution, and officials confirmed that there was not a threat to the public. Before all of that happened, though, the installation mass itself was a success, with 1,200 people here in Corpus Christi for the very joyous celebration. Most Precious Blood Catholic Church welcoming attendees, including the bishop's family from Mexico City. The celebration honoring both his roots and the strong Hispanic community here in South Texas. Aviles comes to us from the Diocese of Brownsville, where he served as auxiliary bishop for the last 8 years. He shared a message of joy and gratitude as he steps into this new role.
This same joy that I've been received, through the presence of people here at the church, it's a new beginning, for the Diocese of Corpus Christi. When Bishop Bowlby took me to a restaurant, there were people there that welcomed me and said, "Oh, Bishop, you're welcome to the diocese." This is what I have found all in these days. So that's been a great help.
Bishop Aviles says his family's support throughout the years means everything to him. During the Mass, he thanked them for giving him the gift of faith and for their constant support. And we are certainly glad that he is here. And cruise ships leaving from Corpus Christi, it's an idea that floats in and around every so often. Well, now a social media post claiming a 2-day cruise to Cozumel is getting attention. Our Bill Churchwell looked into whether it's real and what cruise tourism here could actually look like.
It's a picture that is sparking hope of Coastal Bend residents who are dreaming of setting sail to a much warmer destination, especially during a big coastal chill.
You gotta be careful with AI and stuff now.
She's right, shared and liked hundreds of times, claiming to promote a 2-day cruise to Cozumel. But state and local leaders say you'll have to wait a bit longer for something like this to actually become a reality.
I don't know about the social media post. I've seen similar in the past. But what it does indicate is the Coastal Bend is being looked at as a future cruise ship area.
The idea to bring cruise ships to the Coastal Bend isn't new. It's been discussed for decades. But according to State Rep Todd Hunter, the interest is greater than ever.
This month, even as of today, there's been reports, they say cruise bookings for 2026 are rising. The hotel industry now appears to be getting into cruise ship travel, building their own ships.
Hunter says the ongoing demolition of the old harbor bridge could be a key step forward.
As soon as the end of the year comes, because it takes about that amount of time to finish up everything on our harbor bridge and the port zone, I plan to go pedal to the metal on the travel tourism, bringing cruise ships to the coastal bend.
Hunter says serious talks won't begin until demolition is complete, but over the next year, he plans to work closely with the Port of Corpus Christi and TxDOT to prepare the region for a variety of ships.
There are a lot of mid-size as well as small line liners that do things like look at sea life.
Locals I spoke with over coffee say there could be benefits if it's done right.
People being able to travel right out of Corpus instead of having to drive to Galveston. So the cons of it is that tourists might begin to overrun our cities, such as they have in Spain and Italy.
Bill Churchwell, 3 News.
And that's a quick look at some of what's happening here in South Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.
In Austin, I'm Quita Culpepper. A judge will decide if Austin voters can weigh in on a new downtown convention center. The trial started today for a lawsuit brought by Austin United Political Action Committee. It claims the city clerk unlawfully rejected petition signatures to put the item on the May ballot. The office said the PAC was 500 signatures short of the 20,000 required. Now, crews have already torn down the old convention center to make way for its estimated $1.6 billion replacement by 2029.
It's a little bit cynical in that the petition calls for not tearing down the convention center without a vote, but yet the convention center's already been torn down. So it's a little cynical attempt. But now what the lawsuit is about is that whether or not the petition was actually counted. And that's really all this lawsuit is about.
Instead, the clerk disqualified hundreds of registered Austin voters by imposing criteria that do not appear in the charter or state law. Excluding voters based on jurisdictional labels, address, formatting, and other technicalities, even where voter identity and registration were undisputed.
In court, the city's attorneys insisted they reviewed all signatures and followed state law. The judge expects the trial to last 2 days. A takedown caught on camera. An Austin man is suing 2 APD officers, claiming they used excessive force. The man's attorney, Chris Tolbert, says the takedown was a result of Austin police officers saying Antonio Alexander was resisting arrest. However, Tolbert argues Alexander didn't do anything wrong. KVU's Kelsey Sanchez shows us a chunk of that incident through body camera footage.
Officer Howard, Austin Police Department.
This is body camera video provided to us by Antonio Alexander's attorney. It shows Austin police officers Shalom Alvarez and Ryan Kirchberg approaching Alexander.
Back up off me. Hold on. Hey, bro, back up off right now. Why am I being detained? Hey, stop.
The video soon goes black. According to attorney Chris Tolbert representing Alexander, this all happened on July 30th, 2024 in the area of East Old Torf Street and Parker Lane. Tolbert says officers approached Alexander because they suspected he was jaywalking.
It's a disservice to the community. It's a disservice to the citizens because the police department is supposed to be here for the Austin community.
The officers arrested Alexander on a charge of resisting arrest. But the Travis County's attorney's office dropped that charge because there wasn't enough evidence. Despite this, Tolbert says Alexander wants accountability from Austin police.
We want to give voice to this. We want the Austin Police Department to know that when this happens, we will file a lawsuit.
KVU reached out to APD and the city of Austin about the lawsuit. A spokesperson for APD said both officers are still on duty. The city says once they get the lawsuit, they will respond appropriately. As for Alexander, Tolbert says he's still recovering from his injuries.
He still has ongoing pain. It's still undetermined whether or not how permanent his injuries are. Although the fact that he has pins in his knee is a permanent factor of this incident and of his injuries.
And that was Kelsey Sanchez reporting. And Tolbert says the next step is to look into the officer's history and how the department is handling these incidents. He hopes to take the case to trial. Crews are now working to expand I-35 through downtown and central Austin. But with that construction comes challenges for nearby businesses and community organizations. Festival Beach Food Forest, which provides free produce to the community, says a wastewater pipeline relocation could uproot part of its site. KVU's Brianna Perez explains the impact and what the group wants to see done next.
For the past 10 years, staff at the Festival Beach Food Forest say they've worked to turn this city parkland into a garden where visitors can freely forage.
We have peach trees. All of these guys will be full of fruit in the summer, and people just love to come here. It's an oasis, honestly, in the middle of the city.
But organizers say this peaceful space could soon be uprooted. The nonprofit says a temporary wastewater pipeline relocation tied to the I-35 project is set to cut through part of the food forest, which has been under improvements since the city approved expansion in 2021.
Our team not being notified of this really destructive pipeline until just about a month before construction is slated to start is really disappointing and unacceptable.
Nonprofit leaders tell me their original plan was to mirror phase 1 of the food forest, creating an area filled with a variety of edible plants on phase 2. And now they're concerned that years of hard work can be uprooted within a matter of weeks, and they're demanding answers.
You can see it stretches from that green post all the way to another green post further down there. So there's about 90 plants, trees, and shrubs that are going to be impacted directly by this trench.
The nonprofit says they are now calling for an immediate pause while they work on a solution with the city and TxDOT.
This is just really disheartening, especially for a city that relies so heavily on nonprofit and volunteer partners to steward our parkland. This kind of oversight is just really disappointing.
In East Austin, Brianna Perez, KVU News.
In a statement about the food forest concerns, a TxDOT spokesperson told us the agency's been coordinating with the city during the planning and design phases. And as a standard practice, when details of construction are confirmed, they provide updates to nearby stakeholders to keep them informed. We also reached out to the city about the food forest concerns, and we have yet to hear back. Activists are pushing for funding that would keep millions of Texas children fed when school is not in session. Leaders with the nonprofit No Kid Hungry want to see the state fund a summer EBT program. State lawmakers set aside $60 million for that in the budget last year, but the governor vetoed that line item. So advocates say now the governor and other state leaders can still move that money through emergency budget mechanisms.
There is a short window, obviously, right now to try to get that ramped up because this logistically does take some time. But my sense is that if the governor wants to do it, that they can make it happen.
That money would allow families to get EBT cards, which they can use at local grocery stores. Advocates say the program would also cut health care expenses tied to food insecurity, which can be twice as high for children who go hungry over the summer. The nonprofit hopes state leaders sign off on the funding so the money can be in families' hands by June. And those are the headlines happening in Austin. I'm Quita Culpepper.
Here are your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Spencer Plato. Beaumont police have identified a man killed overnight as 23-year-old Marquise Tillman. He was shot multiple times at the Point North Apartments. Officers were called to the scene Tuesday night around 10 after reports of several shots fired. Once they arrived, they found him unresponsive. EMS pronounced him dead at the scene. Family tells 12 News he left behind 3 daughters. Officer Chancellor Van Houten says the shooting appears to be an isolated incident.
Officers were dispatched to 3710 Magnolia in reference to shots being fired. Officers arrived on scene, located a victim The victim is deceased. Victim has been identified, but we're not releasing the name of the victim at this time out of respect for the family.
Police have not yet released any information about suspects. One neighbor who asked to be anonymous for their safety told us they've stayed inside their home since.
And all I did was hear shots, and the street was full of smoke. And then next thing, I thought it was firecrackers for real. I don't even want to walk to the store anymore. I don't even want to come outside. I don't want to sit on my porch in my drawer. Nothing. I don't even want none of that.
In security footage 12 News obtained from a neighbor, you can see police questioning neighbors within minutes of the shooting. A quick response neighbors say they're thankful for. And Port Arthur police are investigating the death of an elderly man found outside of a convenience store in a wheelchair. He was discovered by a resident around 7 a.m. Tuesday morning during freezing temperatures. Temperatures the night before dropped into the low 20s. The man who discovered him said he was just in a hospital gown with a coat and blankets wrapped around his legs. He also said he found a KFC drink frozen next to the man. When 12 News returned today, we found his wheelchair still there near a dumpster at the corner of Turtle Creek Drive and 9th Avenue. Police Chief Tim DeRusso says investigators do not suspect foul play, but detectives are working to find out why the man was outside in freezing weather. Judge Joseph Guillory II has ordered an autopsy. The man's name has not yet been released. And tax season is here, and if you get a refund, you can expect to get more money. It's thanks to the big, beautiful bill, according to Beaumont tax preparer John Corrive. 12 News reporter Daniela Tabuada-Palau spoke to him about how much you may be eligible to receive.
Cladra, the IRS kicked off the 2026 tax season Monday. Now, while taxes might not be the most exciting topic, new changes could impact your wallet in a big way.
Get a refund of $1,379 as opposed to $229. So that's about $1,100 more.
That's John Caraba, a Beaumont tax preparer. He's breaking down how much a couple 65 or older could get this year after tax changes due to the big, beautiful bill. Incredible news for Beaumont resident Gertrude Sneed.
Oh my gosh, that would be great. It would just be just like Christmas all over again.
Caraba estimates that if you are over 65 and file single, you can get up to an extra $6,000 deduction. And if you file as married, you can get up to an extra $12,000 deduction. But what about those who are younger?
They're going to benefit from if they work overtime specifically, or if they collect tips. Those will be excluded for income, and that's going to be, and that's up to $25,000. That's going to be a nice bonus for them.
Which for Michael Hubble, who collects tips, means some extra money in his pocket.
A little bit more of a refund would give me a little more money for my car payments and car repairs, a little bit more for food for my family as well.
Now temper your expectations. Caraba does not expect younger folks to receive a large tax refund when compared to our older population, but he still believes everyone will see some kind of increase to their refund.
I think everybody's going to experience a larger refund this year, $10 to $1,000 to $5,000. Everybody's different.
The big beautiful bill also included a bigger standard deduction and a larger child tax credit by $200, according to Careva. In studio, Danielle Tabuada-Palau, 12 News.
And those were the headlines from Southeast Texas.
I'm Bailey Bates. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. Fort Hood officials are responding after a recent winter storm caused sub-freezing temperatures to freeze and burst HVAC pipes in several barracks on post, leading to flooding in dozens of soldiers' rooms. 6 News reporter Adrian Carbajal met with local plumbers to find out what you can do to protect broken pipes.
As temperatures slowly climb above freezing, plumbers say now is the time to inspect your pipes.
If your pipes are frozen currently, there's a good chance that something could be busted. So you just kind of want to watch out for that. And as soon as the temperatures start to get above freezing, you're going to walk around your house and visually inspect everything, look under your sinks, check your showers, toilets, and just make sure you don't see any visible signs of water.
But damage isn't always easy to see. Chris Rose with Shelton Plumbing recommends looking at your water meter, which usually is located near the street. If the numbers are slowly spinning, even when no water is being used, that could be a sign of a hidden leak. If you do find excess water or hear it running inside walls, It's time to take action.
Turn the water off immediately. We're going to do a visual inspection, and then we're going to use some gauges that we'll put on the house and do what we call a static water pressure test to see if there's any leaks at all.
And the risk doesn't end once the freeze is over. Plumbers say pipes can fail days, even up to a week after temperatures warm up.
Every once in a while, check that meter and check around your home because if it did freeze, it may just be on the verge of busting but has not busted yet. I know that sounds scary, but the best thing to do is just kind of be alert and check on it from time to time.
Renee Perkins with Bukowski Brothers Plumbing says pipe material also plays a role. Older homes often have copper pipes, which crack more easily, while newer PEX piping is more flexible and less likely to burst.
PVC, it is not near as bad as a copper, but the PEX pipe, it moves with the ground. So you don't have that breakage.
Members of a Central Texas Jeep Club are being hailed as heroes as they helped stranded drivers and essential workers get to where they needed to go all across Central Texas. Juliana Jackson tells us how this community effort saved lives.
A lot of my members that jumped up and was coordinated for us and calling us out, this person needs help here.
Jeep left behind.
6 News first told you about the Central Texas Outlaw Jeep Club and how they were offering free rides for essential workers and people in need during the winter storm. President Todd Kavanaugh promised they'd be there for the community. Well, the calls for help started immediately and didn't stop. One nurse told 6 News the club stepped up and got multiple nurses to the hospital so they could keep patients safe. She wrote, quote, "As relief nurses rolled in, the stress rolled off."
Team effort to help the community and to make sure all the hospitals had the staff that they needed.
If you need to make it to Walmart or you need to make it to Whataburger or everything, stay home.
They also helped restaurant workers get home safely, transported a woman having contractions to the hospital, and pulled countless vehicles from ditches. Kavanaugh says even people who weren't part of the club jumped in to help.
It was just overwhelming with the support that we got from people that just wanted to help the community. I'm proud of everybody that came in and supported us and helped us. I'm grateful for all the thank yous.
One nurse called the volunteers the real MVPs of the ice storm. The club's motto, "No Jeep Left Behind," proved it applies to people too.
I think it was a success with what we did this past storm, but we're ready for the next if we get one.
A great thing they did for our community here. Those are your headlines from Central Texas.
Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.